G'day folks, Sapper here with another World of Warships video. Welcome to BLUF, or Bottom Line Up Front, a series where I review ships but give you the need-to-know first thing and the in-depth meat further on. Think of it as a ship review video but with a TLDR. Iowa in 2020 is a fast and fun ship but couldn't measure up to her peers in durability. But how does the original cruiser killer fare at the start of 2021 and with the arrival of the skillz rework? Has she been worth the grind? Here is my review of the Tier 10 US Navy Battleship, Montana. The bluff for Montana is that she is a reliable ship with average traits but good gunnery. Montana has been power crept into mediocrity in a range of areas such as overmatch, durability and AP DPM, but do not equate this to mean that Montana is a bad ship. Montana is fun and rewarding to play, performing well in fire support roles thanks to her consistently effective guns. Montana is greater than the sum of her parts and in 2021 is remarkably reliable. Montana is a step up from Iowa in terms of gun power and durability, but is more sluggish and has worse concealment. Montana has 12 406mm guns in triple turrets. These are the exact same guns and shells as those on Iowa, only you get 3 more of them. Her citadel is larger than Iowa's, but is protected by a nice belt, meaning that angling yields better results than it did on her predecessor. Montana also continues her predecessor's 38mm middle deck section, but her superstructure is quite large, so it's not a lot of comfort when versing HE spammers. As with just about all Tier 8 to 10 battleships, Montana has 32mm armor sections for her bow and stern, and no icebreaker, so the big 3, being Yamato, Musashi and Shikishima, will punch straight through if given the chance. Her armor scheme is respectable, but has been eclipsed by ships such as Grosser and Kremlin. Montana has 96,300 health, and that's middle of the road, but she does round this out with the US improved DCP and heal, which are nice to have. In some conditions, this gives her more effective health than Yamato, but she's still nowhere near Grosser and Kremlin as far as durability is concerned. Overall, Montana is a fairly durable ship, but she isn't notable for it. Montana's concealment is likewise middle of the pack at 14 km with full concealment build. This is marginally better than Yamato and Grosser but doesn't compare to ships like Conqueror or Kremlin. Montana is quick for a battleship at 30 knots, however most battleships at Tier 10 are 30 knots or just under, so it's nothing special. She pairs this quick speed with worst in tier rudder shift and an average turning circle, meaning that you will not be actively dodging any shells and you will want to turn early in anticipation of torpedoes. And the torpedoes will hurt a bit, Montana's torpedo damage reduction being average at 37%. Montana does have decent AA, but it is worth mentioning that she is only marginally better than Iowa, but at a tier higher. Unfortunately, she will not prevent Tier 10 aircraft carriers from attacking her, but in combination with any decent AA ally, she will prevent most aircraft carriers from making more than a single pass. So without considering her guns, Montana is pretty average and middle of the pack across a range of areas. But how do her guns perform? Montana's 12 barrels are pretty good. Montana's shells are heavy for 406mm shells, being similar in weight to Grosser 420s. They are also slow, having the longest travel time among Tier 10s and the worst penetration at range, except for Burgoyne's 380s. The shells aren't perfect, but against a range of targets, Montana's shells are very reliable. Combining these shell characteristics with the 12 barrels and respectable accuracy, Montana ends up being arguably the most consistent battleship at Tier 10 with AP. There is a caveat, however. Montana lacks overmatch against battleship targets and can only overmatch the bows and sterns of cruisers. This means to get the most out of Montana's AP, players will need to know how to aim when versing angled enemies. This is thanks to armor changes that happened just over a year ago, giving high-tier cruisers a 30mm midsection, thus needing 430mm guns to overmatch. So in regards to overmatch, Montana isn't the cruiser killer she once was. This leads me into how to play her. Montana is a fire support platform. She performs well at medium to long ranges against a range of targets. Regardless of skill level, Montana does not perform well on flanks unless at longer ranges, lacking the maneuverability to dodge sustained torpedo attacks. Basic and intermediate players will therefore want to play Montana with the Allied fleet, where her reliable guns can help focus down any target. Target selection should be the same as any other ship, but with a stronger focus on enemy cruisers who have made positioning errors. More than any other Tier 10, Montana brutally punishes broadside cruisers. Advanced level players will be more comfortable playing a roaming or central position, creating potential crossfire and engaging targets of opportunity. In any situation, if players have learned how to hit targets with Iowa, they will not struggle with Montana as her gunnery is almost identical. Montana is average in most regards, but her guns mean that if you can aim, she is remarkably reliable. Onto the build. Montana has no module upgrades. For consumables, Montana has the US improved damage control party and improved heal, same as her predecessors. For plane options, I take spotter plane for those times when you need a little bit of extra range or the more elevated viewing angle. For upgrades, main battery 1, Damcon 1, turret traverse, Damcon 2, concealment, and artillery plotting. On to captain skills. A note here, the skills rework went live with the latest patch, so this build is subject to any changes, but I'll pin a comment with any updates to my suggested build. First pick up gun feeder, then greased gears, adrenaline rush, concealment, and deadeye for 14 points. Then fire prevention for 18, and basics of survivability for 21. Halsey and the Doe brothers are ideal thanks to improved gun feeder and greased gear skills. Montana is a winner out of the Deadeye skill as of 10.0. This is because Deadeye gives the most advantage to ships with bad dispersion like Roma, many guns like Montana, or both like Conqueror. The reason for this is the larger your dispersion, the more of a reduction you get from 10%. Ships with many shells often have larger dispersion values to balance and have more potential damage per salvo. 10% can mean multiple extra shells hitting when compared to fewer gunships, leading to greater benefit. Montana has relatively good dispersion to begin with, but has many barrels, meaning she benefits a lot, but not quite as much as some, such as Conqueror. The full bottom line is that Montana is fun to play thanks to reliable gunnery, but is noticeably average in other areas. When compared to her peers, she performs middle of the pack in almost every regard and lacks any true defining feature such as overmatch, durability, or great HE. Montana performs well in fire support roles where her consistent guns can get damage or secure kills when needed. She has enough broadside weight to severely punish mistakes, and this has only grown more potent with Deadeye. Despite being power-crapped in a range of areas, particularly in her ability to overmatch most cruisers, Montana is greater than the sum of her parts, and in 2021 is remarkably reliable. So how does Montana compare for noobs or skills? Montana loses points compared to her peers in rudder shift, but gains points in gunnery. Montana is unremarkable in most facets when compared to her peers, and has worst in tier rudder shift. She makes up for this with some of the most reliable gunnery in the game. So for the scores. Noobometer, 9 out of 10. Montana is a fun ship and not particularly strong or weak in any area. Subsequently, basic level players do not have to compensate for any major weaknesses. Montana is an excellent entry point to tier 10 gameplay. Skillometer, 8 out of 10. Montana is a great battleship but lacks some of the niche traits to better enable big plays, such as Yamato's overmatch or Kremlin's tankiness. However, she is reliable and a lot of advanced players will work well with her consistency. My recommendation is to pick up Montana as your first tier 10 battleship. While the grind through the middle tiers can be a bit rough, Montana is an excellent entry point to tier 10 gameplay and a great addition to any player's port lineup. Pull out Montana anytime you need a reliable battleship. She may not have the X factor of some of the other battleships, but she is fun to play and a good all-rounder. She's not the cruiser killer she once was, but in 2021, Montana is still strong. So what did you think of Montana, this review, or anything in the video? Do you agree with me or reckon I've got it wrong? Let me know down in the comments. Honestly, Montana is my favourite tier 10 battleship by a comfortable margin. She did what I needed her to do when I needed her to do it. So while I gave her decent scores, in my mind she's a personal 10 out of 10, with or without Deadeye. The next bluff for a tech line will likely be Italian battleships, although I may see if I can squeeze in a premium or two first. If you have a different line you're dying for me to review, let me know down below and I'll see what I think. Thanks for watching folks, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one.